rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Perspective. I am your host with the most, Rick. Everything that I saw on the social medias today has all been about the idiots at the Olympics and Bad Bunny with the Super Bowl. So tonight I decided, you know what? I am not going to talk about that outside of this beginning monologue telling you that I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it because frankly, it's kind of boring. I mean, I don't watch sports anyway, regardless of what the sport is anymore because of all the woke bull crap. I'm trying to be nice. That's been going on. So I'm done with it. I don't even want to look at even the commercials at halftime, which are usually extremely entertaining for me. Yeah, I'm not even sure I want to do that because, of course, Anyway, enough said about that. I'm done with it. And so we're going to talk about all the other things that have been going on in the world, America and the world, outside of all of that. So forget the Olympics, forget the Super Bowl. That's not tonight. We're not talking about it. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight, I believe, is definitely not Karen. That's right. Definitely not Karen is up for the Pledge of Allegiance for tonight. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Definitely Not Karen as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, Definitely Not Karen, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email, and address that email to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will, of course, get you into the rotation. I have 21 of these things. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done so, I need 5 more. If you haven't done so, I'd appreciate it if you would go ahead and submit those as soon as possible. And if you use your phone or an app on your phone, most of them have the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E, share option, where you can share it to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. Now, keep in mind, if you do end up with a file that's too big to send, what you can do is you can upload that file to any one of the free file sharing type sites like Dropbox, Box, or Google Drive, and then you can get a link and send it on down to me. Send me the link, and then I'll download it and get it all set up. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and do that. I'd appreciate it. I would definitely appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else would too. All right, let's go on to tonight's headline sponsor. Oh, wait, before I do that, 2 things. Number 1, I'm drinking the Buffalo Trace tonight. Drinking Buffalo Trace out of the wonderful gift by my Whiskey Warrior P1s out of the American Perspective logo glass. this thing doesn't get a lot of use or doesn't get a lot of popping up on the show. So I gotta up that a little bit. And of course, there's the requisite stones in the bottom because, of course, it takes stones to drink with whiskey. So, that's some good stuff. All right. And it looks like one of my unofficial producers is about ready to open up the Buffalo Trace bottle that she just purchased. Anyway, also I want to give a shout out to one of my sponsors. Today is the 4th year anniversary of the launch of True Grit Roots Network. That's right. TGRN was officially started transmitting today, 4 years ago today. So happy anniversary to my wonderful partner. He finally has his dream. His dream was to own and set up his own radio station. And so thankfully he was able to get it done. I held a small part, very small part in the whole thing, but yeah, it was his dream, and I am proud to have been part of it. I am proud to have been able to assist him in making his dream come true, and it's been a labor of love. Many, many years came to the point 4 years ago where we popped it off, and then here we are 4 years later. We got 2 signature channels. We've got discussions and things going on about all the others. We've got other plans, all kinds of plans for the station. Of course, it's just mainly time, energy, and, of course, the all-encompassing dollars to make things work. But, hey, we're trying to live our American dream. Well, at least his American dream. I'm just along for the ride. So anyway, happy birthday, TGRN. That's all I got to say. All right. So, let's move on. Oh, by the way, we haven't done a question of the week for a while, and there was actually one sitting in my inbox that I didn't realize was there until last week after the show, and I went, oh, crap. So, we have it for tonight. It is a question that was submitted a couple weeks back, and so I apologize for missing it because we haven't had it in a while, so I that's the only claim that I can make. So anyway. All right, let's move on to tonight's headline sponsor, which is, of course, the Institute on the Constitution. Speaking about that, the Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical worldview. They take this worldview from the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers you the educational opportunity to learn about our historical founding and all of these other things. They suggest that you help restore the republic in 3 key steps. Number 1, you should pray. You need to pray for our country. Number 2, you need to study. And that means going and studying all of our wonderful documents and the supporting documentation like the Federalist Papers and everything else that comes along with it. And how can you do that? Well, you can first start off with the U.S. Constitution course that they provide. It's 100% free. Right here is the form that you need to fill out. Right here above my head and on the screen. You just put in your first name, last name, and your email. And they will send you the 12 short lessons. They're 15 to 20 minutes long. The 12 short lessons directly to your inbox once a week. you'll get one of those. And yeah, you can learn at your own pace. It's 100% free, and it's 100% self-study, 100% online. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can then go and sign up for their other classes. They have some live classes that you can see here. And they got a bunch of them. I mean, they're all over the place. Ohio, Missouri, South Carolina, Maryland, California, Texas. They're all over. Go and check them out and then decide, pick one of them and register and go join the class, the in-person class. And once you've done that and you go through a couple of other of their courses, whether it's the U.S. Constitution course, the Truth of America's Founding course, there's a bunch of different courses that are out there. Once you go through all four of them, then you can help by going to the ACT portion, and become an instructor. You can become an instructor for them, and you can throw your weight into the boat, start rowing in the same direction, and help restore the constitutional republic by teaching classes within your community. So they have 4 different instructor levels. You can go and check that out. Go to theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview, all one word, .com, and check out their Pray, Study, Act. You can click on all of their links. You can also go and take a look at their Legacy Library. Now, this is at their store. You click on Shop, and you'll be and click on their Legacy Library, and you'll be taken here. I fancy these leather Declaration of Independence, leather Bill of Rights, leather Magna Carta, and the leather U.S. Constitution, which is 4 of those things, 4 leather sheets. Oh, they are fantastic. But hey, not everybody can spend that kind of money on wall hanging. And what'll help you even more is to go and get this Saddleback, a leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show. This is the sexy rounded corner book that all of my Whiskey Warriors love. Take a look at this thing. It's got an 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. Stitched all the way through. The leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if something does go wrong, you can take this and send it back to the manufacturer within that 100-year time frame, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. And my youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed the information contained within will help you to achieve your Civics badge in Scouts. That's right. You can also achieve your civics exam as well as your naturalization test as well. According to my Whiskey Warrior G, stitching is strong enough to wrangle an ancient bison or put a smile on a bald eagle's face. Historically patriotic. That's right. Go and get yours today. You can go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get right to the leather-bound U.S. Constitution. And I thank the Institute on the Constitution for their absolutely wonderful sponsorship of all of this. Now, I tell you guys, when I get here early, I tend to forget things. I don't know why, because it's like my whole vibe is thrown off. Well, I got here early, so my vibe is thrown off because I don't have the book, the factoid book, here ready and available. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to light off the stinger, and then I'll grab the book. So that's what I'm doing in the background. Here we go. That's right. We're going to go to On This Day in American History. And for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, chock full of all kinds of factoids about our wonderful country that we call home. And because I don't have let's see, what is today? Today's February 7th. I should remember that. Oh, man, I wish I could read February 6th. That would have been awesome. But February 7th, we are going to talk about Laura Ingalls Wilder. February 7th, let me try this again. February 7th is the birthday. God, I'm dying here. Holy crap. February 7th is the birthday of Laura Ingalls Wilder, born in 1867 in an area then known as the Big Woods of western Wisconsin. I was born in a log house with 4 miles of the legend-haunted Lake Pippin in Wisconsin. I remember seeing deer that my father had killed hanging in the trees about our forest home. When I was 4 years old, we traveled to the Indian Territory, Fort Scott, Kansas, being our nearest town. My childish memories hold the sound of the war whoop, and I see pictures of painted Indians. I was a regular little tomboy, and it was fun to walk the 2 miles to school, she recalled. Although she also confessed my education has been what a girl would get on the frontier. I never graduated from anything and only attended high school 2 terms. After moves to Minnesota and Iowa, Laura's family established a homestead claim near near DeSmet, South Dakota, where she grew up and married Almanzo Wilder. It was there I learned to do all kinds of farm work with machinery, she recalled. I have ridden the binder, driven 6 horses, and I could ride. I do not wish to appear conceited, but I broke my own ponies to ride. Of course, they were not bad, but they were broncos, and believe me, I learned how to take care of hens and make them lay. Later in Mansfield, Missouri, or Missouri, if you're from there, Laura began writing down memories of her pioneer life. During the Great Depression, she asked her daughter Rose, a writer, to look at her manuscript, written in pencil on lined school tablets. Rose helped her turn portions into a novel, and in 1932, when Laura Ingalls Wilder was 65 years old, Little House in the Big Woods was published. Little House on the Prairie and other books followed, turning the former pioneer into one of America's most beloved authors. And that is tonight's On This Day in American History. That's the thing, man. I'm telling you, we Americans, we're a hardy people. We're a hardy people. That's right. We are hardy. We can do things, all kinds of things with well, okay, maybe not so much anymore. All right. Okay. Well, I don't know if anybody caught this. And believe me, it's been 14 years, roughly, approximately, since the attack in Benghazi. Now, people talk about how long it takes for a, shall we say, the wheels of justice to turn in America. Yeah. Anyway. Sorry, my Whiskey Warrior P1s are out there and they're giving me crap because I obviously can't freaking, I was having problems with the book. Anyway, U.S. arrests a key suspect in the 2012 Benghazi attack, the DOJ announced. Now, 4 Americans were killed in the September 11th, 2012 attack on the U.S. diplomatic outposts in Benghazi, Libya. And they finally got him. Let's go ahead and, wait. Excuse me. Woohoo. Bless me. Anyway, let's go ahead and listen from Pam Bondi as she tells us all about it.
Good morning. On September 11th, 2012, Americans watched horrified as our embassy in Benghazi came under a vicious terror attack. We lost 4 American lives that day. Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith with the State Department, and 2 CIA contractors, Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods. We have never forgotten those heroes, and we have never stopped seeking justice for that crime against our nation. In fact, from day one, Cash and Dan would sit in meetings and say, we're going to get them. And they did. Today, I'm proud to announce that the FBI has arrested one of the key participants behind the Benghazi attack. Zubair al-Bakosh landed at Andrews Air Force Base at 3 a.m. this morning. He is in our custody. He was greeted by Director Patel and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. Al-Bakosh will now face American justice on American soil. We will prosecute this alleged terrorist to the fullest extent of the law. He'll face charges related to murder, terrorism, arson, among others. Let this case serve as a reminder. If you commit a crime against the American people anywhere in this world, President Trump's Justice Department will find you. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. You can run, but you cannot hide. We are immensely grateful to our partners, especially at the State Department and the CIA, who lost lives in the Benghazi attack. Director Patel and the FBI agents did tireless work to track and arrest this man.
Well, there you go. So the FBI, including former Deputy Director Dan Bongino, has done fantastic work to bring this guy to justice, to our court system. And obviously, regardless of what Hillary Clinton might think, what difference does it make now? Or whatever it was that she said. I'm sorry, I can't even imagine how the Secretary of State of the country could make that statement. She is a disgusting human being. But now, they one of the people who supposedly planned all of this has been apprehended and transferred to us. So, there you go. It's about damn time that something happened with Benghazi. Personally, I think Hildebrand should have been hung for that because she didn't bother, responding to the call to the, what a lot of people don't understand about these people is when you go into these kinds of positions of government service, you can get called at any point in the night. And you can be, called to the carpet at any point during the night, especially as the president. And do you honestly believe that, Joe Biden was able to do that? When he would call, what were they called? I can't even remember. When he would call call the day, whatever it was, at 6 p.m. or whatever. Hey, we're not doing any more business. 6 p.m., we're done. No. And then you have Donald Trump, who works basically 22 to 23 hours a day, is constantly moving, constantly taking care of things. only sleeping like an hour or two. I mean, yeah, let's just, I can't even imagine that Hillary, I can't even imagine that Hillary was just like, oh yeah, no, this is no big deal. That's not an American point of view, folks. You know, I went in and into the service, and I got to tell you, there was no way in hell that I would ever have left an American citizen in enemy hands. You got to go in with the idea that you are not coming home in those kinds of situations, because that's what Americans do. We don't leave our own. We don't leave our own. We keep fighting until we have no ounce of strength or anything else left, or until we're killed. That's how you do it. And to have her sit there and say, oh yeah, what difference does it make now? Well, it made a big difference back then, Hildebeest. It just sickens me that these people think that they can run our country and be a part of our country when they absolutely are anti-American. Anyway. Janine Pirro pointed out that she contacted the families of the 4 Americans killed in the attack and said, time will not stop us from going after these predators, no matter how long it takes, in order to fulfill our obligation to the families who suffered horrific pain at the hands of these violent terrorists. Don't forget now, Joe Biden was receiving 13 American soldiers from the Abbey Gate suicide bomber, and he was checking his watch the entire time. Versus reports of George Bush receiving our service members who had died in battle, and tears coming down his face. Now, I wasn't necessarily a George Bush fan, but I got to tell you, that's the difference. That's the difference between an American president and an anti-American president. So, yeah, there you go. There were 2 others that were previously prosecuted as a part of the attack. In 2018, one of the men, Ahmed Abu Khattala, was sentenced to 22 years in prison in connection to the attack. And Mustafa Al-Imam was sentenced in 2020 to about 20 years in prison. I want to point out, who do you think was the president in 2018 and 2020? Now we've got one more in. So, yeah. And by the way, U.S. forces killed another person of interest in the attack. Ali Alwan Ali Alwan al-Harzari, or Harzi, H-A-R-Z-I, al-Harzi, in a June 2015 airstrike in Mosul, Iraq. At the time, the Pentagon described him as a known ISIS operative. Justice is served. Justice is served. That's what an American president does. That's what an American president does. Well, Donald Trump has won another win in the court system, and this, of course, is not even going to be talked about by the mainstream media, because those sycophantic propagandists don't want you to know the reality of things. So there was a Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals order issued on Friday that vacated an injunction against Trump's anti-DEI orders. So in these first, this is a quote from the court. In the first days of his second term, President Trump issued 2 executive orders that directed executive agencies to end DEI inclusion programs within federal grant and contract processes. The district court entered a preliminary injunction, but we stayed that pending appeal. We will now vacate the district court's injunction and remand it back for appeal. There you go. Now, the National Association of Diversity Offices in Higher Education and the American Association of University Professors, as well as the mayor and city council of Baltimore, Maryland, had challenged these orders. But that's it. It's been overturned. Again. I don't know what his win rate is, but I think right now it's somewhere in the 80 percentile or more for these wins in the court system. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. These leftist lunatic morons are losing it. They're losing it every single time. I'm surprised that they didn't even recognize this. Here's another article and another thing that happened that I didn't even hear about until I saw this in the news today. So apparently the FCC is now being investigated, let me rephrase that. The View is now being investigated by the FCC. The FCC is reportedly trying to influence or trying to enforce a January rule that requires, quote, statutory equal opportunities to broadcast television stations, including their late night and daytime talk shows. The show, meaning The View, reportedly failed to file the right paperwork for late night and daytime talk shows when it hosted Texas Democratic Senate candidate James Tallarico, which would implicitly indicate that the FCC, I should say, that Disney believes The View is a bona fide news outlet and would be exempt from the policy. And we're going to have to see if The View actually can host more Republicans on its show. We know that those cackling hens over there are not going to want it. So, yeah. Anyway, the way that this is supposed to work is they're supposed to, have equal broadcast time for both candidate, or for, if it's 2 candidates, both candidates, if it's, equal broadcast time for 4 candidates by themselves. So, yeah. Anyway. Whatever. The View's trash anyway. So let's just say that the 10 watchers of The View, yeah, they wouldn't even matter anyway. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know if this is actually anything, if anything is even going to come of this. I don't even think it's really that important, to be honest, but whatever works. Whatever works. Anyway. Well, we haven't heard very much from the seditious 6. That's right. You recall the 6 intelligence operatives, former intelligence operatives, people who jumped in and made this videotape that literally claims that the Constitution is being upended here in America, but yet nobody seems to recognize, at least nobody on the left seems to recognize that fact was even put out there. These seditious 6, they're all sitting there trying to claim the Captain Mark Kelly being top, Alyssa Slatkin being the second most vocal person about this. But apparently, they all seem to think that, it wasn't that big of a deal for us to say that the Constitution was being violated, when it isn't. And it doesn't seem to be a big deal to them that, you know, they claim that because the Constitution is being violated, that military members should just ignore the orders coming down from their commander-in-chief. And they seem to think that, no, this is all First Amendment stuff. We didn't say anything that the law doesn't already say, except for the fact that you claim that the Constitution is being violated. Yeah. And that's really where the problem comes into play. Well, apparently there's probes. Obviously, we know about Captain Mark Kelly, who should be going into, I'm hoping, a military tribunal soon with regards to it. But Alyssa Slotkin, who was a former CIA analyst, she is a Michigan senator now for the Democrats. She said in an X post this last Thursday that she wrote a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and the U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro stating that she was not going to comply with the DOJ's request to interview her about the video or respond to its inquiries. The Democratic senator also said that she urged the DOJ to retain their records on the case that she, quote, I decide to sue for infringement of my constitutional rights. No, I don't know where she's getting this idea. She spoke, yeah, but again, folks, you got to keep in mind, okay? You may have the right to say something, but that doesn't mean that you are not absolved of your responsibility for the accountability that would follow. I mean, I literally have the right to say, you know, to yell fire in a crowded theater. But if somebody dies because of that, my right doesn't usurp my culpability, especially if the fire itself was fake. I can still yell it. I have that right. But if somebody is injured or dies because of that action, I am not absolved of any culpability if it turns out to be fake, if it was wrong, if it was false, if I was doing it just to be an ass. Yeah. And in this particular case, her intent, because let's face it, these seditious six, their intent clearly was to usurp the President of the United States as the commander-in-chief and his orders to his military. They knew this. That's why they did it. They don't tell me that they're sitting there and they're just, no, we're just restating the law. Yes, military members do have an obligation to the obligation. Sorry, my Whiskey Warrior P1's distracted me again in the chat. Yes, they do have an obligation. Military members do to not follow illegal orders. However, the question comes into play. First of all, was there any illegal orders given? The answer to that is no. And so what's the point in sitting here saying that our Constitution is being violated every day here within our borders when it's not? There's not a single time that the Constitution, and even when you ask these people, hey, what were you referring to? What Constitution? What part of the Constitution, what part of the Bill of Rights, what part of our constitutional amendments were you referring to? Were you referring to in terms of your video? That's the question. Because if there isn't any, if they cannot name a single part of the Constitution or a single illegal order that was followed, then their purpose in doing so was not necessarily to remind people of it, but their purpose literally was to foment disloyalty and insubordination within the ranks. That's just the way it works. Now, Democratic Pennsylvania Representative Chrissy Houlihan, another idiot and former Air Force officer, also said on Thursday that she would not comply with the DOJ's request to interview her over her role in the video. And she released that in terms of X posts. She said in a video posted on the platform, I will not be doing that. When the power of the federal government is turned toward intimidating the people, including veterans who have sworn to defend the Constitution and duly elected representatives of the people for speaking the truth, that is not justice. Well, I ask you, Representative Chrissy Houlihan, exactly what illegal order was given and exactly what in the Constitution is being essentially ignored? Exactly what in the Constitution that you guys are saying that the Constitution is being violated? What violation? What violation? Houlihan also wrote it, I refuse to be intimidated by the Trump administration, not only because our right to free speech needs to be protected, but because this so-called investigation is an attempt to distract from the real issues at hand. Again. What? Specifically, name instances. What illegal order was given? What part of the Constitution is being violated? And yes, lady, I am a veteran, and I have sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And you idiots are definitely in the domestic category. You guys are in the domestic category. That's literally what's happening here, is you are in the domestic category for this. Now, when asked for comment, Slotkin's office referred the Daily Caller News Foundation to her video on X. The DOJ and Houlihan's office each did not immediately respond to requests for comment. So, yeah. And it's not just those two, by the way. You have Senator Mark Kelly, who is actually being investigated, militarily speaking. You have Democratic House Representatives Jason Crow of Colorado and Chris DeLugio of Pennsylvania, along with Maggie Goodlander from New Hampshire. Now, Crow said last month that all House members from the video who have all served as either military or intelligence officers had been contacted by the Justice Department already. Guys, you broke the law. That's literally where this comes from. You broke the law, and you need to be brought to an accountability for it. That's just it. That's the end of the story right there. All right. Take a quick break before I get on to my next topic. Oh, come on. Give me a second. Things changed for some reason. Anyway. So, I'm drinking whiskey right now, but bourbon, exactly. Straight Tennessee bourbon whiskey. Or not Tennessee, my bad. God, what is that? Kentucky bourbon, straight bourbon. God. Oh, if Bonnie was here, she'd hang me. Anyway. But I drink in the morning, I drink coffee. I do. I drink coffee every single morning out of this 16-ounce mug that was given to me by my children. My offspring, that says, Father like no other. Got kind of a double entendre there. But anyway, if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's only 1,000 units available. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you'll also be receiving my personal favorite, the Gold Spoon Clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be receiving a frother that is strong enough not only to stir up your coffee, but also your mother-in-law's opinions. Not hard to do that. And you'll be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just the low, low price of $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775 Coffee. That's the number is 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they are gone. That's 1775 Coffee, 1775coffee.com/studio. That / is your question mark key. /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they disappear. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com /studio. 1775 Coffee, bold enough to wake sluggish ground sloths and send them to make applications at Hillsdale. I have no idea what G's talking about right there. But anyway, go to 1775coffee.com /studio and grab your starter kit today. All right. Well, folks, there's been a lot of talk. Been a lot of stuff on the media before the craziness of this weekend. Both of the... Anyway, it's kind of interesting how there's new polls that are coming out, and these polls are demonstrating, according to the leftists, they're demonstrating that, hey, people are unhappy with immigration and ICE. Now, what's really strange about this, and in particular, they're talking about NPR. For an example, NPR was eagerly touting their new poll with PBS and Marist that basically says that, hey, 65% of Americans, up from 54% in June of 2025, think that ICE actions have gone too far in enforcing immigration law, and 62% say that the actions of ICE are making Americans feel somewhat less safe or much less safe. There's only one problem. They never ask the question, what do the resistors, the anti-ICE activists, do you feel that they have gone too far? See, they never ask. They never ask about that. They never ask the question as to whether or not the resistance is something that should be going on. And I can guarantee you that if you ask that question, I'm fairly certain that you would see a large, probably a majority, if not a huge majority of Americans would be saying, hey, you know what? We don't think these protesters are doing themselves any kind of a favor with all of this. It seems to be like a missing question that needs to be asked. Now, national media outlets, of course, keep implying that the protesters, meaning Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were somehow not radical activists, were somehow not blocking things, were somehow not breaking the law at the time that they were interfacing with the ICE agents, resisting and so on and so forth. All about this. See, and they've got articles that have been running around talking about how the leftists are training in Minnesota to wreck ICE activities, to break up. I mean, they're going around and they're like beating up cars They're planning on breaking up or attacking cars and vandalizing cars. They are vandalizing cars that they think are ICE. You've seen it. I've shown it on this show. But yet not a single pollster has come out and basically said, hey, do you honestly believe? First of all, do you believe that ICE has gone too far? And then the follow-up question should be, do you believe the protesters have gone too far? And they should. They should. I mean, these people should be brought up to the whole thing with regards to all of this. Should be brought up to account. And you know, the sad part about it is everybody's sitting here talking about how ICE is not law enforcement. They are law enforcement, okay? They are law enforcement. They get training just like all the others. Anyone, by the way, just so you know, any agent that you see that is carrying a firearm gets the exact same training as any other federal agent carrying a firearm. So, you know what? Let's start asking these serious questions. Let's start asking. I mean, hey, if you want to ask a question on the one side, why not ask the question on the other? Well, the answer is they don't want to see what the other side looks like. Because the vast majority of Americans are pissed off. We're tired of all of this. We're tired of hearing all about this stuff. We're tired of hearing people who are essentially breaking the law and obstructing what the voters asked for. Yeah. Anyway. So these leftists, by the way, are also focused on getting the mainstream media to reinforce their interference with ICE, such as shutting down streets, illegally shutting down streets in Minneapolis, where they can go and stop people and ask them for identification before allowing them to enter into their own neighborhoods. I mean, this is bad. This is you don't have. People don't seem to understand. You do not have that right. You do not have the right to stop people like that. Law enforcement does, yes, but you as a citizen do not have the right to stop and ask somebody for their ID. And frankly, if somebody did ask me for my ID, I would probably give them my ID, as in the not so family friendly middle finger, because it's not any of their business for any of this. But you know, the elite media, the elitist media, they're all their groupthink, you know, their Borg-like hive mind. They all think that the left-wing extremists never go too far, no matter how violent things are. You remember the comment, oh, yes, the mostly peaceful protest, as he's standing in front of a building that's burning. That was CNN. See, their goal isn't about keeping the streets safe. Their goal is literally to go after Trump and the Republicans. That's what they want. And any extreme tactic that achieves that goal is okay in their book. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway. Things are calming down in Minneapolis now. Tom Homan, I think, has brought a calming influence. And he was able to get the vast majority of the Minnesotan law enforcement agencies to agree to, hey, if we collect these guys, meaning the local law enforcement, we're not going to just release them into the wild until you guys have a chance to come and pick them up, which is pretty much what every other state in the union has been doing this entire time. You know, it's kind of interesting. I saw a map from the 2024 electoral vote count that had all of the states, and it was alongside a map. I wish I had grabbed this, but it was alongside a map that highlighted in color intensity from like orange all the way up to red, color intensity, all of the activities that are going on with ICE, like where in the country, the entire country, where ICE is concentrating all of its efforts. And, you know, it was a very interesting correlation. Now, correlation doesn't always equal causation, but I think in this case, we can probably say that, yes, causation equals correlation in this place, or in this case, because of the fact that the blue states, meaning everything up in the Northeast, Colorado, Minnesota, Illinois, and the whole West Coast, Washington, Oregon, and California, that's where the majority of the ICE activities, according to the adjacent map, that's where most of the ICE activities were occurring. And guess what's common across all of those? Well, for those of you that can't image this in your mind or don't really know, all the states that I just named out where the ICE activity has been concentrated, Democrat-run states. That's right. It's where the Democrats are. It's where these sanctuary cities and states are. It's where these idiots and morons and droogs that are running the authorities in these states that are acting like they are kings or whatever and can order out federal agents. When they can't, the supremacy clause applies here, people. You know, I had people on social media, these idiots that are sitting here trying to say, oh, no, the 10th Amendment applies. Except there's only one problem. The 10th Amendment clearly states that if there is something in the Constitution that is expressly forbidden for the states to do, which immigration is that item, you can go all the way back to the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers basically stated, hey, naturalization and immigration and all of this other stuff should be a federal responsibility, not the states, because the states, at the time that the Constitution was created, all of the states had their own definitions of what a citizen was, how to become a citizen, naturalization processes, and all of this other stuff to become a citizen of the state. And so it was agreed upon by the framers that, yeah, we need one singular rule set that applies across the board to everything. See, what a lot of these lunatic leftists don't seem to understand when they go off to school and the schools have teachers like that idiot that I showed you last night in New York, they don't seem to understand that the Federalist Papers clearly pointed out that anything from the border outward, dealing with other entities, foreign countries, foreign trade, all of that other stuff, that is the responsibility of the federal government. Anything from the border inward, specifically dealing with the American people themselves, primarily is a state responsibility. And by the way, that includes things like health care, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, welfare, all of that. All of that is supposed to fall to the states. It's not part of the federal government's responsibility to do any of that. But see, these idiots have never been through an actual civics course, and so they have absolutely no idea what the responsibilities of the federal government are, and unfortunately, nobody has been able to stand up and take them to the Supreme Court properly and basically say, hey, guess what? This, under the 10th Amendment, this is a violation here. Because what a lot of people don't understand is the Supreme Court can't just usurp itself and insert itself into the politics of the world or of the federal government and states. It needs to essentially wait until a case is brought before it and the question is asked. Even though smart jurists And Supreme Court justices like Clarence Thomas have indicated, hey, somebody needs to ask this question, with regards to things like, birthright citizenship as an example. Somebody kind of needs to ask this question because I think this might, also, too, questions with regards to the federal district judges that are all sitting here trying to break things down, the federal district judges that are trying to get in the way for all of this. He's asking a question, it's a constitutional question to ask whether or not these guys actually have the ability to block the president. Hint, hint. Anyway. Well, shifting away a little bit, there was a scare. Folks, if you honestly believe that COVID-19 is going to be the last of these things, I'm telling you right now, the whole COVID-19 lab leak theory, not only a theory anymore, but it's really more of a, spoiler alert. Well, we now have had yet another showing up in our backyard. So I don't know if anybody saw this report. This comes from the Epoch Times, though, and I've seen it in a couple of other outlets. There was a suspected illegal biolab that was raided in Las Vegas. Authorities have sent more than 1,000 pieces of evidence and unknown substances to go and get tested from this Las Vegas home. Here's a graphic. Just because I know you guys don't want to look at my face, but here's a graphic about it. It was 979 Sugar Springs Drive in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was in a home, folks. In a house. Seriously, in a house. I don't understand that, but anyway. So apparently, on January 31st, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police and SWAT teams raided a home a place that a local resident passes by on his mountain bike every single day. Inside the garage, they discovered a suspected biological laboratory containing a freezer, several refrigerators, a centrifuge, and other specialized equipment, and over 1,000 vials and gallon-sized containers of unknown red and brown liquids. Now, this local resident says that's kind of scary. He lives 2 blocks away from the site. And he goes, you don't know what the hell is in that stuff. And now, it can happen in any neighborhood, even the quietest neighborhoods. So, yeah. Anyway. Police officers and hazmat-suited personnel were walking around the property. Here's an example, or here's a picture of one from them. There it is. Yeah, this is getting scary here. The Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMill told reporters on February 2nd that we recognize that the public is seeking clarity. What are they testing for? What the possibilities are being considered? FBI scientists and specialized evidence teams entered the garage where they opened the refrigerators and the freezer to inspect their contents. Some of the items have been used, appeared to have been used to store biological and chemical materials. So, the joint investigation that's occurring involved multiple agencies and a layered use of technology, including Las Vegas's Metropolitan Police Department drones and a robotic dog to assess the environmental conditions at the residence to limit risk of exposure of potential pathogens. And by the way, that Sugar Springs Drive home is owned by a company called David Destiny Discovery LLC, whose principal is a guy by the name of David He, who is the same person who is connected to an illegal biolab that was shut down in Reedley, California in 2023. So, yeah, this is, and by the way, this guy, I gotta tell you, this is a Chinese biolab. Here is the guy right here. Here he is. Let me see if I can bring this in a little bit closer. But there he is. This is the guy. And there's his driver's license. It's a pseudonym. David He is a pseudonym. It's used by this guy who's a Chinese national. Now, you sit here and you ask yourself, seriously, you ask yourself all the time, okay, we need to get illegal aliens out. This would be an example. Or better yet, this whole idea of, birthright citizenship, meaning that you can have an illegal alien's parents come here, drop a baby within our borders, and that baby automatically becomes an American citizen. That's what the Chinese have been doing. The Chinese have been doing that. They've got close to 1 million people, there are some estimates, that they have had, that the babies have been born here, and then they've taken them back to China to raise them in China. And they're coming up in the next year or two to probably come back here and do things like what this guy is doing. I mean, seriously. Folks, they're using our own laws against them, or against ourselves. Now, investigators at the Reedley biolab, the other biolab that this guy was running and owned, they found materials possibly linked to infectious diseases, including hepatitis, COVID-19, HIV, malaria, and other dangerous pathogens. So now this guy is a suspect in this Las Vegas case as well, and said that federal authorities were already holding him because of the charges related to the 2023 investigation. There's another suspect by the name of Ori Solomon, 55 years old. He's a non-immigrant foreign national. He was also arrested in this Las Vegas investigation. So, yeah. This guy manages not only a home that was raided, but also a nearby house on Templeview Drive. So, yeah, these guys, I'm just telling you. Here's some images of some of the crap that they took out. There it is right there. Take a look at these things. Yeah. Folks, these, one thing that these leftists don't seem to get, and that is there are times where you have to make the decision between, do I want to, enforce law and protect my people, or do I want to just give it all up because it's too convenient, or it's more convenient for me to be able to do things like, cheat on voting. That's why I keep telling you, these leftist lunatics that are out there trying to tell you that, oh, no, we're not cheating on voting. But yet you can't have ICE come up to the polling places because, what happens if there is an illegal there? Oh, my gosh. No, folks, I'm telling you, there's more to it than this. And these idiots, these leftist lunatics that are out here, they're complete idiots. They are complete idiots. So anyway, as of this point, or at least as of the point of this article, it's unknown whether similar materials were present at the Las Vegas residence versus the other one. Possibly, the possibility is required that made him proceed with extreme caution when they came in. Now, on January 31st, the FBI also executed a search warrant on the other property at Templeview Drive, but found no illegal biological materials inside over there. So there you go. Apparently, there were 3 other people living in different rooms that were being rented at the Sugar Springs Drive location, and those people are currently not involved in the current investigation for this site, for this facility. Well, I don't know if anybody saw these, but there has been a couple of people, leftist lunatics, who have been picked up for plotting to kill and threatening to kill either President Trump or members of his administration. There was a guy in Maryland. He showed up at a individuals or a member of the cabinet, and I don't know if it's the cabinet, but it's a Trump official. Let's see. Yeah, they're not naming the victim, I don't think. Let's see. I can't seem to find who the victim is. But anyway, the target of the plot was Russell Vought. So Russell Vought was targeted by this guy. This guy showed up at Vought's house with gloves and a mask, as well as a firearm, because he appeared to be concealing a firearm, carried a backpack. He was allegedly plotting to kill the director of the Office of Management and Budget, which is Vought. Yeah. The suspect allegedly said that he feared a fascist takeover after the last election. Police obtained a search warrant on the man's home, found digital records, found that he appeared to have solicited to have the target killed, and looked up directions to his house. So he tried to get somebody to do it and couldn't, and so he decided to do it himself. He reportedly told the authorities after interviewing him, he told them that the 2024 election had been the lowest point in his life and that he was afraid of an impending war and a fascist takeover. Yeah, these guys are nuts. I'm telling you, these leftists are extremely nuts. They are crazy. I'm telling you, they are crazy. Well, it's not just in Maryland. It also happened over in Portland. And by the way, that guy, the one that was in Portland, he apparently was impersonating or attempted to impersonate himself as being an agent of the United States Secret Service. The Portland Police Bureau said in a news release that the man was shot and killed by police Thursday morning. He had attempted to shoot a grocery store security guard the previous Saturday, and had falsely identified himself as a U.S. Secret Service agent, written threats against President Donald Trump as well. So how this went down is just after 1 p.m. on Saturday. This, I think, was last Saturday. Anyway, officers responded to a Safeway in the 1300 block of Northwest Lovejoy Street after reports that the man, who had not yet been identified, had pointed a handgun at a uniformed security officer and pulled the trigger, though the gun itself did not fire. The man fled with the handgun, but left behind an instrument case that contained a loaded shotgun. The shotgun shells themselves had threatening messages written on them and specifically named Donald Trump, police said. Now, the officers could not locate the man on Saturday, but after working with the U.S. Secret Service, they identified a suspect, determined he lived in an apartment. At about 5:15 a.m. on Thursday, Portland police officers attempted to arrest the man. After arriving at his apartment, they announced that they were with Portland police, ordered him to come out with his hands empty, and warned that force may be used. The man did not respond. Negotiations were unsuccessful as the officers could not communicate with them. Officers then evacuated the entire floor, and after about 35 minutes, they deployed tear gas, which caused the suspect to emerge holding a handgun. Police officers then fired at the man, who had stated that he had pointed the handgun at one of the officers. Folks, these are getting even worse. I mean, this stuff is going to get even worse over time. And it's because these idiots are out here. These total dumbasses are out here doing this. Anyway. So, these people are crazy. All right. Well, Pete Hegseth has done something nice. And by nice, I mean he has done something good. He has ended military education ties with Harvard because Harvard decides to be woke. Literally. So, yeah. According to Hegseth, we train warriors, not wokesters. So he said that the Pentagon is going to review the graduate programs at other Ivy League schools for cost-effective strategic education. So the Department of War said Friday that it will end all professional military education fellowships and certificate programs with Harvard. Pete Hegseth made an announcement, a video announcement on X, saying that the department would be cutting ties with Harvard for active duty service members beginning in the 2026-2027 school year. That means fall. He called that a move that was long overdue. Now, keep in mind, Hegseth, who has a master's degree from Harvard, the John Kennedy School of Government specifically, he said that the U.S. military has had a rich tradition with the Ivy League school. He argued that Harvard has become one of the red-hot centers of hate America activism, which he has been. So, yeah. He said in his statement, too many faculty members openly loathe our military. They cast our armed forces in a negative light and skulch anyone who challenges their leftist political leanings, all while charging enormous tuition. It's not worth it, he said. They've replaced open inquiry and honest debate with rigid orthodoxy. So, yeah. Now, President Trump, keep in mind, said Monday that he was going to be seeking $1 billion in damages from Harvard University, for which the Trump administration has made a primary target in its effort to leverage federal funding to crack down on anti-Semitism and woke ideology. So, yeah. Well, my state, Washington, trying to be progressive. Apparently, Washington is now moving forward. Washington State is now moving forward with new legislation to expand voting access in the mail-in ballot-only state to include an electronic portal. Now, keep in mind, this state has refused to provide voter registration data to the U.S. Department of Justice and is embroiled in a federal litigation over this. But Senate Bill 6035 would authorize the Secretary of State to deploy new electronic ballot return portals for certain categories of voters, including service members, overseas voters, disabled voters, and tribal members living on reservations. The legislation authorizes an electronic ballot portal for eligible voters, subject to security rules, testing, and reporting requirements. I kind of have a question. If you think that bots can get involved in things like, I don't know, X, Facebook, YouTube, any of these places, what makes you think that this supposedly secure voting portal is going to be? Yeah. Anyway. So counties that are planning on using the system would be required to track every single ballot submission attempt and confirm that only eligible voters used the portal. Question. What are they going to use to ensure that eligible voters are the only ones that can vote? This is interesting. How are they going to, Anyway. Statewide reporting is supposed to be compiled annually. If enacted, the bill would take effect 90 days after the adjournment of the legislative session, with full implementation required by January 1st of 2029. I gotta ask again, and I should probably ask my representatives, how in the hell are you guys gonna ensure that these people are these people? I mean, seriously. Anyway. Yeah. And by the way, Washington State is among 24 states that have been sued by the U.S. Department of Justice for refusing to provide full statewide voter registration lists to federal investigators. So, yeah. Anyway, we're just going to have to see what's going to happen with this one. I'm just saying. All right. Couple of other things, by the way, just to kind of economic issues before we move on to the question of the week. According to the University of Michigan, 1 year inflation expectations have cooled to the lowest level in more than a year, and U.S. consumer sentiment is at the highest level since August of 2025. So we are people are getting a little bit more, shall we say, happy with the economy. So the preliminary February University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index rose by almost 2% to 57.3, up from 56.4 in January. So the highest level since August of 2025. And also, too, the Dow Jones, not that I'm saying that is really any kind of an economic indicator for the American people, but the Dow Jones has cleared 50,000 for the first time in history. And the other major indices, meaning the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, were also up. The S&P 500 was up by 1.75 and the NASDAQ was up by 1.87. So apparently the people who are supposed to know about the economy and are the ones that are helping to fuel the economy are actually looking at it and saying, you know what, this economy is actually pretty decent. So there you go. Yeah. The Trump economy is getting better and better and better. Slowly. It's slowly coming back, though. I mean, let's be honest. 4 years of disaster takes a while for things to percolate and go through the process and get through the system. But it's coming. So, it's coming. Not to mention, I think about a week ago or so, gold actually hit its highest point as well. Anyway, all right, let's move on to, and I got to find the button because I haven't seen it in a while. Yes, there it is. Makes sense. Question of the week. All right. So today's question of the week comes in from none other than 3 Chevy. 3 Chevy, who is a fantastic whiskey warrior, longtime P1 listener. And he goes, hey, Rick, you may have already discussed this, but concerning the anti-ice app, can a law be passed to make that app illegal, since its only purpose is to assist others in breaking the law? And do you think it's possible to hack into it and either identify all that are downloading it or give bogus information to misdirect the protesters to the wrong locations? Thanks again for all the work you do to put into the show each week. All right. So let's take this question one by one. And by the way, thank you for recognizing all the work that I put into the show. Appreciate that. Let's kind of break this down one by one. Is it possible to give bogus information? I would have to say that that depends a lot on the application itself and what kinds of programming verifications are happening in the background. See, for an example, if you take a look at things like Waze, that's W-A-Z-E, Waze has the ability to identify where speed traps are happening. And I can tell you that as a past user of Waze, I don't use it very often, but when I did occasionally, I would get notified that, hey, there's a speed trap up ahead. And then I'd get there and there'd be no speed trap. So I believe that unless the application is tied into something else that can validate the reports that are coming into it, I honestly don't think that there would be a really good way necessarily to validate whether or not a report is real or not. Now, what they probably do is they probably say, well, you know, we're not going to necessarily report, at least this is the way that I would do it if I were designing something like this, is I'm not necessarily going to report the first time or the second time, maybe even the third, fourth, or fifth time. But I would have to have like multiple reports in one area as sort of a, let's say, crowd-funded or crowdsourced validation. So it would have to come from, you know, multiple different sources, meaning multiple different users, maybe multiple different IP addresses, multiple different types of browsers and things like that, which, by the way, everybody, I'm going to tell you right now, all of your apps, even on the web, apps are picking those kinds of things up. For an example, you know, our visitor statistics, oftentimes that you see on websites and stuff, they are picking up IP addresses. Those IP addresses are being geolocated in a general sense to hit like, oh, this is coming from the U.S. or this is coming from, you know, the state of Georgia in the U.S. or something along those lines. Okay. Now, all of that being said, a lot is going to be dependent upon how that application has been programmed, whether or not it's going to alert just off of one report or alert off of a series of reports in a certain area. Now, as far as identifying who's downloading it, well, ironically, I took a look to try and find the ICE in the Google Play Store, the ICE app, and I couldn't find it. It wasn't present in the Google Play Store. So that tells me that it's likely an application that was built outside of the Google Play Store. And that being said, you may not be able to download it unless you set up, say, developer mode on your device. Now, all of that again being said, is it possible? It depends. If the app is actually caching or tracking all of that information, gathering that information, and holding it on the server somewhere, then yes, it is possible that you might be able to at least identify at one time, again, depending upon what is being collected, as far as the items that are being collected from the app and the interaction with the server, whether or not any of that stuff is being collected. So it is possible. It is possible to do that. And if they are collecting it, I always think it's always possible. It's always possible to hack into something. Nothing is ever 100% secure. Now, as far as whether or not making the app is illegal, in terms of that question, I'm just going to point out there have been several products, for an example, guns. Now, the manufacturers have gained legal recognition to say, hey, we make the guns, but we can't control how the people who legally purchase them, use them. And so they have gained a little bit of a absolution in culpability from that fact. Now, you could look at things like Google's Waze app, where it has the ability to identify speed traps as something very similar. And it would be, well, okay, we provide the information, but we can't necessarily guarantee what the individual who gains that information, what they're using it for. If they're using it for something illegal and we didn't know about it, we have no culpability. And that's probably the legal way that these guys would get out of this. But as far as could it make it illegal? You could only make it illegal if it was 100% for sure being used to obstruct law enforcement. The gap there, of course, is the fact that, first of all, the information is being presented. But secondly, what the user does with it, and it's that is where the culpability falls. Because again, you can look up on the internet. Granted, you'll probably be tracked by the FBI, but you could look up on the internet how to make an improvised explosive device. There's books out there. You can buy the books, off Amazon on how to do the bomb making. They can't stop you from doing that. You might cause some alarm bells to go off, but you can't stop somebody from buying those things. But just having the information and acting on it are two different things. And so, no, I don't think that, as far as the Constitution is concerned, I don't think that they would be able to, that the federal government would be able to say, without 100% serious, certainty, 100% certainty that this individual meant to do this bad thing with these items. Our society is free enough that just because you have that kind of information doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to act on it. And that's where the rub comes in. See, this is the part of the double-edged sword of being part of a free society. So I don't think they could legally block it anymore. But again, Google and Apple could, as on their own volition, because they are private entities, they're not government entities, they're private entities, they can basically say, well, you know what, your application doesn't meet with our terms of service or whatever, and so therefore, yeah, we're not going to host it. But I don't think the federal government could actually make it illegal to make the app. I mean, for an example, in the wireless world, there is meaning RF world, the RF networking world, there is this program known as Kali. Kali. Kali Linux is a operating system and a tool set for literally hacking Wi-Fi networks. But again, it's available. Somebody can download it. Somebody can use it. But depending upon how they use it, depends upon whether or not it crosses that illegal line. So again, I don't think the federal government can actually block it without, or make it illegal to make without having a specific reason. Even though I know that the anti-ICE app, many of them are used for that purpose, but you'd have to prove it on the part of the individual, not so much the app itself, but its use in order for that to happen. All right, folks, I have gone way over my time. So do me a favor before you take off. Go over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up or thumbs downs across all of my platforms, or in the case of 3 Chevy, you can hit the thumb sideways. Whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend. And good night, everybody.